thought I was careful. He never said a word, never asked where I'd been. Then one night, he opened the door and let my lover walk right in. That's when I realized he knew everything from the beginning. It started with silence, not the angry kind, just quiet, the kind that builds when two people memorize each other's routines so well they stop looking up when they say goodnight. 16 years of marriage, no scandals, no fights, just structure, predictability, safety. And for a long time, I thought that meant we were okay. But something shifted. Or maybe I did. I remember the moment it became real. We were out to dinner. He was scrolling through his phone between courses, showing me some article about inflation. I nodded, pretended to care. But inside, I felt invisible. Like I could walk out of the restaurant and he'd finish dessert without noticing. That night, I stared at the ceiling while he slept beside me, thinking, is this really it? Is this what forever's supposed to feel like? I didn't plan to cheat. I didn't even flirt at first. It started at a cafe near my office. A guy who worked there, younger, too confident for someone behind a counter, but he remembered my order, then my name. Then one morning, as he handed me my drink, he said, you've got that look, like you used to laugh a lot, but haven't in a while. I laughed it off, but it stayed with me. That someone noticed, that someone looked. I went home that night and cried in the shower, not out of guilt, but out of something I didn't have words for. The next week, I stayed for a second coffee, just to talk, and again the next. And slowly, it became a habit, a release. I told myself it was harmless, just conversation, just being seen. Until I stayed late one night. He was closing. We talked about nothing, movies, music, how people stopped noticing each other. Then he looked at me differently, not like a barista, like a man. And I didn't stop him when he kissed me. I drove home quietly, my hands steady, my pulse calm. I crawled into bed beside my husband and thought, he'll never know, but I will. I told myself it was a one time thing, a moment, but moments don't repeat. And I went back. Not every day, but when I needed it, when I wanted to feel something that didn't feel like routine. At home, I folded laundry and answered questions about grocery lists. At the cafe, I felt alive. The guilt wasn't always there, it came in flashes. When he touched me gently, when he said, you've been smiling more lately, I'd nod and say, guess I've just been taking care of myself better. He believed me. That almost made it worse. It went on longer than I meant it to. Weeks turned to months. Not constant, but enough that I stopped feeling surprised when it happened again. The way he kissed me, the way he made me feel like I wasn't just someone's wife or someone's task partner. He asked questions no one had asked in years about who I used to be, about what made me feel alive, about the kind of music I liked when I was 22. With him, I was the version of me I used to admire, spontaneous, sharp, full of possibility. At home, I was just quiet, polite, present. Sometimes I thought about stopping. I'd go a week or two without seeing him and convince myself I was done. But then something would trigger it, a passive comment from my husband, a night where he fell asleep in the middle of my sentence, a day I felt particularly invisible, and I'd find myself walking back into that cafe or answering that message with too many heartbeats in my throat. He never pressured me. That made it worse. He made it easy to say yes, and I told myself it wasn't about the sex. It was about the way he saw me, about the way he noticed. And I started to believe it, started to think maybe this wasn't cheating at all. Maybe this was just remembering who I was before I became who I was supposed to be. But it caught up, not in a dramatic way. There was no discovery, no confrontation, just a shift. My husband started watching me differently. He was still kind, still present, but he was quieter, asked softer questions, not direct, not accusing, just subtle things. Everything good at work? You've been going out more lately, haven't you? I lied easily, too easily, and he always smiled and nodded, like he believed me. But there was something in his eyes that lingered just a second too long. Then one Friday night, he asked if I wanted to go away for the weekend. Just the two of us, somewhere quiet. No phones, no plans. I agreed. Maybe out of guilt, maybe out of curiosity, or maybe because I thought it meant he was trying too. That maybe, somehow, we were both trying to come back to each other. The cabin was beautiful, remote, clean, cold in the mornings. He made coffee while I sat on the porch, bundled in sweaters, pretending to read. We didn't talk much, but it wasn't the usual silence. It felt like we were circling something, like we both knew there was a conversation we weren't having. That night, after dinner, he opened a bottle of wine. We sat by the fire. He asked if I was happy. I hesitated too long. I said I was. He nodded slowly, looking into the flames, and said, "That's good to know." And then, I still don't know how to explain this. He asked if I wanted to try something new, something different, just once, just to see. He said it casually, like we were talking about dinner or music, but something in his tone made my stomach turn. I asked, "What do you mean?" And he said, "I invited someone, just one time. No pressure. You've always said you felt like we were too predictable." At first, I thought he was joking. Then I heard a knock at the cabin door, and everything changed. I froze. I didn't move. I didn't speak. My heart wasn't racing. Not yet. It was something colder than fear. Something still. I looked at him and searched his face for a joke, a twitch, a trace of irony. There was none. Just calm, softness. The same expression he wore every time he handed me my coffee in the morning. He stood up slowly and walked to the door. When it opened, I knew exactly who I was going to see. I don't know how, but I knew. And there he was, the barista, or whatever his name really was, dressed differently, hair neater, posture careful, but his eyes were the same. And when he looked at me, it wasn't with surprise, it was with expectation. I looked between them, my husband and the man I had betrayed him with, the man I thought was mine in some small, reckless corner of the world, and neither of them said anything for a moment. My husband broke the silence. He said, "You don't have to say anything. I just want honesty. No more lies. If this is what you want, I'm offering it to you, with me in the room, so we don't pretend anymore." I wanted to scream, to run, to throw something, but all I could do was sit. He added, "You've been gone for months, but your body was still here. I needed to see what you'd do when you were seen." It was cruel, but not angry. It was clear, deliberate, like he wasn't trying to punish me, just end the confusion. The other man sat across from me, not moving unless I said something. And in that strange, quiet triangle, I realized something that should have been obvious long ago. He had never been mine. He was never real. My husband had orchestrated the entire thing, from the first compliment at the counter to the final knock at the door. Every message, every glance, every stolen moment. Not spontaneous, not organic, not fate. A test, and I had failed. I stood up. I could barely speak. I asked, "How long have you known?" He looked at me, not with hate, just a kind of empty calm. He said, "I knew from the beginning. I saw it in your face the first day you came home smiling at nothing." I whispered, "Why? Why would you let it happen?" He looked down for a moment, then said, "Because I needed the truth to reveal itself without force. I needed you to show me who you really were when you thought no one was watching. And then, almost gently, he said, "You did." He didn't touch me. He didn't scream. He just stood up, took his coat, and nodded to the other men, who also stood quietly and left without a word. I stood in that cabin alone, shaking, number not because of the betrayal I had just learned, but because of the betrayal I had committed, and how carefully it had been used to undo me. I stayed in the cabin that night, alone. I didn't cry. I didn't break things. I just sat there, curled in the corner of the couch, staring at the fires like it might burn all of the shame out of me if I watched long enough. My phone stayed silent. No messages, no missed calls, and I knew there wouldn't be. He was done. That much was clear. The next morning, I woke up in the same clothes I'd worn the night before. I walked outside barefoot, let the cold porch boards sting my skin just to feel something real. The air smelled like smoke and pine. It reminded me of our first road trip, years ago, before the house, before the kids, before all the quiet. We used to be in love. I believe that. I still do. But somewhere along the way, I stopped reaching for him, and he stopped noticing I had drifted. Maybe that's no one's fault, or maybe it's both of ours. A week later, I came home to an empty house. Not literally. The furniture was still there, the dishes still clean, but his side of the closet was bare, his toothbrush gone. On the kitchen table was an envelope. Inside was a single page. No anger, no screaming, just a simple note. "I wanted to believe you were still here, but the version of you I knew is gone. I'm not staying to watch someone I love vanish piece by piece. I hope someday you see what I saw, and I hope it hurts just enough to change you." No name, no signature, just that. He filed for divorce 3 days later. No court battles, no revenge, no gossip, just silence, start to finish. Sometimes I still pass the cafe, though it's under new ownership now. The barista is gone, or maybe just reassigned, or renamed, or erased like a dream you wake up from too late. I never told anyone the whole story. Not my sister, not my therapist, not even myself, not out loud. This is the first time I've said it all in one breath. People think betrayal is about touch, about bodies, about motel rooms and receipts and stains you can't explain. But the truth is, betrayal can be soft. It can start with a smile, a compliment, a moment of feeling seen by someone you shouldn't be seen by. It grows in silence. It feeds on what you don't say. And sometimes the deepest betrayals aren't the ones they catch you doing. They're the ones they let you walk right into. So you can finally see yourself the way they've been forced to see you all along.